Hi everybody. Within this video, I'm going to be showing you a few clay building techniques. You will be taking these techniques and creating a clay sculpture of your personal choosing. So the first technique I want to show you is how to create a ball out of clay. So I'm ripping off a chunk of clay. I squish it and mold it into a sphere-like shape, and then I'm gonna roll it between my hands for a good few seconds. Might squish it a little bit to really get it the shape I want. There we go, I got my sphere shape. This technique could be used to perhaps create the head of a person or an animal. From here, I could either attach some more clay onto it, or I could even pinch some forms from it to get a face or whatever you plan to make. From a ball or a sphere shape form, you can very easily create the next technique or do the next technique, and that is to create a slab. So for the slab, I'm going to take my ball shape, place it on my mat, and then push down with my palm. I may flip over my clay so I get it nice and flat. And I have a slab. The slab technique could also be used for various purposes. Perhaps from this technique, I'm going to cut a shape out of it and then attach multiple slabs together to create a form. Maybe I'm going to carve something into it or take some other clay and add pieces to it as well to create whatever you choose to. So that is a slab. The last technique I want to show you is how to make a coil out of clay. So I grabbed some more clay. I'm going to, again, just start to kind of mold it into an oval-like form. From there, I'm going to set it on my mat and roll it. I roll it all the way through so that I get a nice cylindrical form. Sometimes if you don't roll it all the way through, it starts to make a kind of flatter shape. Once it's long enough, I can use both hands. As I roll the coil, my hands move to the outside. And there we go, I've got a coil. The coil size would depend on what you are creating. We do want to make sure that our coils don't become too thick or thin. When they're thin, it's more difficult to attach them to another piece of clay, and they may break or crack. When they're too thick, they may break or crack in the kiln and not dry out as well. Similar, we need to watch out about the thickness on a slab too. It can't get too thick or thin for the similar reasons. All right, the coil can be used for various purposes as well. Perhaps this will be attached to a slab to create something. Perhaps if it's a smaller coil, it will be the tail of your creature. I'm not quite sure, that'll be up to you. All right, and the last thing I want to show you is how to attach two pieces of clay together. So for visual purposes, I'm just going to attach this clay piece to my slab here. To do that, I will take this clay tool and make some cuts into it. Then I need to make similar cuts into my slab piece, crisscrossing them. Right, and then I lay that on top, squish it together. Then I'll also take the time to smooth pieces so that that attachment is really secure and it's not gonna fall off. This scratch and stick technique is similar to locking your fingers together. If I lock my fingers together, it's really difficult to pull my hands apart. Versus if my fists are just together like this, my hands really easily come apart. All right, so we learned how to make a ball out of clay, a slab out of clay, a coil out of clay, and then we also saw how to attach pieces of clay together. Some other building techniques that you may use would be a pinch pot. The pinch pot could be used this way. It could be flipped over, and then you could attach pieces of clay to it. Or it could even be squished into another form. Perhaps you'll flatten it down. You may also use the potato bowling pin penguin person animal technique that we learned last class. Any of these techniques can be used to create a sculpture of your choosing. Here I have an example from another second grader who decided to make a turtle out of a slab, some coils, and a ball. This friend here used the potato bowling pin penguin technique, and they used the pinch pot technique to make a little food tray for their creature. All right, so those are lots of building techniques in clay. What can you make out of them?